Go ahead, Irene.
Our mission. Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, welcome. And I am so honored to introduce Hallie. Let me just read a quick blurb, and then I know that she's going to tell a lot more about her story so that you all will know. When Air Force recruit C.J. Twomey shockingly ended his life at age 20, his family was plunged into unrelenting grief. In a moment of desperate inspiration, his mother, Hallie, put a call out to the world on Facebook. Would a handful of sympathetic travelers help fulfill her son's ambition to see all the corners of the earth by scattering some of his ashes in a place of beauty or special meaning to them? It was a call that would resonate beyond her wildest expectations. The world answered, and the loss of one became the inspiring, heartfelt mission of thousands. Scattering CJ explores the devastating effects of suicide, the extraordinary generosity of strangers, and one troubled family's attempt to finally find peace. Now, I also have a bio of Hallie, but I think that it would be nicer for her to just be able to introduce herself. So without further ado, please welcome Hallie Twomey.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I am absolutely honored always to have an opportunity to talk about CJ, to share sort of the scattering CJ journey and how we got to where we are today, and to also speak and connect with parents who know a similar loss. So I hate that I can't be with everyone in person. COVID has changed the dynamic of how I've been meeting people, and I'm a hugger. And I really miss that personal connection, but being able to virtually meet everyone is an honor as well. So I was asked to kind of talk about, I guess, all of it. CJ was 20 years old when he took his life 10 years ago in April of 2010. He was my firstborn. I have two sons. CJ was 20 at the time he passed away, and my younger son Connor was 16. John and I had CJ and Connor both very young. We were young parents. We kind of grew up raising our boys and definitely stumbled as a mom and dad throughout the years, but never ever expected to end up where we were at that point and where we are now. CJ had gone into the Air Force. He graduated high school. He always wanted to go into the military, and he enlisted, and he was in the Air Force. So proud. Going to see him graduate basic training will remain one of the single greatest moments of my life. He was so happy. We thought he had really found his kind of calling in life, and he did so well that he was recruited for Special Forces to go down to Florida and compete for a very specific and very honorable position. He was excited, he went, he trained, and unfortunately, the Air Force is very selective, and CJ didn't make it. He was given the opportunity to reclassify and train for a different position. He just didn't like what they had to offer, so he chose to be honorably discharged, and he came home. we thought things were fine. CJ was always the charmer, the lover of life. He was everybody's friend, smiled all the time. He and I were extroverts. My husband, John, and my other son,
I think that we just lost Holly. She had two technical difficulties before the meeting started. So I think it might be her internet connection, but we're going to wait for her to come back on. And again, we're really happy that all of you are here. And I love the fact that you're putting where you're from in the chat box. There will be time for questions once she has finished talking about this. And I'd love to just know, maybe you could all just let us know in the chat box how many people have seen Scattering TJ, or CJ. I have a very close friend whose name is TJ. But anyway, who have seen the movie, that would be wonderful to know as well. And if not, it's completely fine. So let's just hope that she is able to get back on. I know that sometimes internet service is very complicated. So Joyce has seen it. Irene has seen it, obviously, yes. Heidi's not familiar. Carla watched the trailer. Okay, we have another member who just entered the waiting room, but it's not Holly. So hopefully she will be finding her way back. And we don't have Kathy McManus on tonight to be able to take over either. She did such a great job. So Teresa's asking where we can see it. It initially was free for 2 weeks, and I had posted about it on Helping Parents Heal. It's now a pay-per-view movie on Vimeo, but those are usually not too expensive. Claudia is saying that she also saw it, and she inspired her to do the same with Emma's bravery beads one day, as she loved to travel the world, which is wonderful. So the movie itself is about her son who completed suicide, and there were about 1,000 people throughout the world who scattered his ashes. And it was an incredible undertaking. And so, let's see, here she comes. She's coming back. So we'll be able to hear it from Holly instead of from me. But it'll probably take just a second for her. Okay, and people, so it's Vimeo, and I will be putting that in the chat box just as soon as I find her. Let's see. Irene, do you see Holly by any chance?
I don't know.
Okay, I did admit her, so I'm sure she's going to be here, but I don't see her picture. Sorry, guys. It's always exciting on Zoom. There's always fun little technical difficulties that come up.
There she is. She's down below you, Elizabeth. I've asked her to unmute.
Okay.
There you
Yay.
There you are.
Here she is. Okay, wonderful. So
no, it happened. I'm now talking on my iPhone. My laptop just stopped working, so hopefully this will be.
Okay, so does everyone see Holly? I guess let me make sure that I'm pinning your video. There we go. Okay, perfect. You look great.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
No worries at all.
So I have nowhere to put this now, so I'm just gonna have to hold it. So excuse me if it moves. Okay, I'm sorry. So I think I was talking about CJ in the military. So he came home, everything seemed fine. He continued to be outgoing, visiting with his friends. He got a job, no signs or warnings whatsoever. He called me one day and said, I'm thinking about going back into the military. And I thought that was a little strange, but
I said, you know what, I'm going to come home at lunchtime from work and I'm going to talk to you. We'll have a conversation. And when I came home, nothing seemed to make sense. He kept referring to the fact that he had no one and he had nothing. And I really didn't understand what had happened or what changed. We argued like lots of parents do. He said to me, you think I'm a failure, don't you? And I said nothing. I remember rolling my eyes and thinking he's being dramatic. And it was just so unusual. He ran up the stairs. We were in our kitchen. I can remember this very vividly as if it happened yesterday. He ran up the stairs, was upstairs for just a brief moment, came back down, and he looked me in the eye, got very close to me, and he said, failure, I'll show you failure. He ran out of our house. My husband and I kind of both followed him. He jumped in his car and proceeded to drive up to the end of our cul-de-sac and sat there in his car. And I remember thinking, you know, he and I had just argued, maybe if I go back in the house, he'll come back down the street and talk to my husband. And so I started to turn. I hadn't even physically turned completely. And he drove back down. He stopped in front of the house. And sort of the last clear thing I remember thinking is, oh, great, he's going to talk to John. And the next thing I knew, my husband screamed, Hallie, he shot himself. And so CJ, unfortunately, at 20, took his life in his car. And that sort of began what I honestly still refer to. It's a nightmare. For 10 years, we've been living a life that we never, ever thought, it wasn't even something I could imagine. I so naively thought death and suicide in particular would never, not touch me in such a difficult way. For about a year after CJ died, I was numb. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. I felt lost. I hated life. I hated people for being happy. I hated that life continued. I wanted my son so desperately back. I was terrified for my other son, Connor. If I hadn't seen signs or symptoms or warning signals from CJ, what am I missing with Connor? And it was a really, really rough year. I remember thinking I myself wasn't suicidal, and I haven't been in the 10 years since CJ passed away, but I'm really aware that the only time this pain will truly end is when I'm gone. And that's hard. That's hard to know. Somewhere along the line, after coming in day after day and seeing CJ's urn, which we had cremated our son, and had his urn sitting on the fireplace in our front entranceway, I just remember one day looking and thinking, this cannot be it. It can't be it. I mean, he's 20, he loved life, he loved adventure and travel, and it just dawned on me that there had to be more. My biggest fear from day one has been that CJ would be forgotten, and it just sort of popped into my head, like, I wonder if I could ask people to take a little bit of CJ on a journey or on their vacations. I really thought of it as just a simple little request. I thought, somebody might be going to Disney and could take a little bit of his ashes and take 2 minutes out of their family vacation and, step over to the side somewhere and just scatter his ashes and go on their way. And really, that's all I ever expected. At the same time, I tend to do things all or nothing. I donated my kidney anonymously to a stranger, and I was recovering from surgery when I realized that the request I had put out on Facebook had sort of taken on a life of its own. I remember thinking in the beginning that if 50 people responded, I would be enormously successful, that Scattering CJ would be something that we could really be proud of. And all of a sudden, it was my phone, as I was recovering, just kept dinging and dinging and dinging. And we had 3,000 offers, and then 13,000 offers, and then 21,000 offers. And what had happened is the story was picked up by CNN. And that's really why we are where we are today. Because the story went viral, people started learning about CJ. They started learning about Scattering CJ. And this amazing community of people formed. To this day, I still, and I say it in the movie for those of you that have seen it, I don't know why people have done what they've done for us. There's nothing for them in return. There's no guarantee of, anything. I had nothing to offer them other than asking them to just be a tiny part of this. And for the past 5 years, it has grown into something that is so unbelievably powerful. I hate it every day as well, because if CJ was here, I wouldn't be talking to any of you. I don't lose sight of that. I never want to lose sight of the reason why I am now an advocate and why I am so determined to change people's mindset about mental illness and mental health, mental well-being, and suicide, is because my son's gone. And I think somewhere along the line, I just decided that I can't bring him back, and this tragedy has to have a better ending. Something positive has to come from this. So Scattering CJ just took off. We have now 22,000 people that follow the page, and so many of them are helping each other. So many people will offer to reach out and talk to somebody who's feeling lonely or lost. People who are struggling offer their phone number. I mean, people that see other people struggling have been offering their phone numbers, emails. It's a connected community of amazingly kind and generous people. And I still don't know why. It's so bittersweet, excuse me, and beautiful. It's beyond our wildest, if it were dreams. It feels strange to say that because I certainly didn't dream this. People have also changed. They don't just take a minute out of their time. They're planning moments. They're planning events to take CJ. He's gone to outer space. He's on, the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. He's everywhere because of the kindness of all of these strangers. I am pretty much guaranteed that anywhere I travel in this entire world, I will be close to my son. And that is something that, as I'm sure, as you all know, as a parent of a child that's lost, to know that you can be forever connected beyond just the memories that we have, beyond just the pictures, but there's an entire universe of people that have connected with and touched, literally, not just figuratively, have touched my son. And I'm in awe every day. Somewhere along the line, we were also contacted by Spark Media out of Washington, D.C. Sorry, I'm not used to holding this. I just don't know if I can put it down. Spark Media, which is an amazing production company, got wind of the story and reached out and said, we think there's something here that needs to be shared and needs to be available to people to learn about and to understand what families go through when someone leaves, when a child, especially by suicide. And they asked if they could film our family or our really now sad family of 3, and if they could chronicle the Scattering CJ journey. We were so reluctant. I'll be very honest with you. I remember thinking, this is, who would do this? We were so lost and so bereft at that time. I just couldn't see why anyone would want to know this story. I mean, it's born out of tragedy. It's sad. It's like, what could why would that be something that people would want to watch, literally, if it became a film? But we decided to have a meeting, again, Skype meeting. And this was before COVID, but Andrea, the founder of Spark Media, was, I think, in DC at that time, and the other producer was in London. And we had a 2-hour Skype meeting with them, and I instinctively knew that they were the people. Like, if we were going to share CJ's story, these were the people to do it. I don't have any explanation as to why. I just knew it. They got it, and they believed that there was something powerful in the Scattering CJ story. So we kind of signed on the dotted line. We had nothing to gain. There was no money involved. We have never made a dime from this, nor would we. We just wanted to share CJ's story and the Scattering CJ journey in order to spark conversations. I want people to talk. I think the biggest obstacle today is that people are so afraid to say, I'm not okay. And people need to understand that it's really okay to not be okay. And that it's even more okay to say, I need some help, or I need someone to listen to me. And so for the better part of 5 years now, we have done this documentary, which is obviously now finished and people are seeing. It started on the film festival, and we had the world premiere in Camden, Maine. And this was, again, thankfully right before COVID. So we were able to be there in person, and, being able to thank people personally that have assisted us in whatever way, whether they've actually scattered CJ's ashes, or whether they've just supported the page, whether they've been there for somebody, whether they come and they say, I'm opening my ears and my eyes more, because now I know what can happen. I've had moms reach out and say, I don't want to be you. And I have changed the way I've parented. I'm paying attention more. I've had people call me or email me. Actually, one of the most powerful moments for me is I had a 22-year-old message me through Facebook and said, tonight's my last night. I'm ending my life, and my mom doesn't understand, and I needed somebody to listen to me one last time. So you're that person. And instantly, I've cried more in the last 10 years than I think it's even possible. But through Facebook, I was able to somewhat locate where she was currently, called a sheriff's department in her town, and ironically it was in Florida where I now live, and said, please don't think I'm crazy. Listen, let me explain to you why I'm calling. I'm this just one mom in Maine, and I have a page. My son, ended his life, and I just kind of rambled and said, please, let me give you this woman's name. Let me tell you why I'm calling. And they reached out to her, and they actually were able to get her the help that she needed. And 7 weeks later, I got an email from her mom and said, thank you. She wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And now I'm not going to be you. And as weird as that sounds, that's an amazing gift for me. That's one less person. That's one less mom or dad that has to live this nightmare. So it's been a crazy journey. I have used it as a platform, and will continue to use it as a platform to talk about why it is so important to love our kids, even when we don't really like them. I tell everybody, don't be me, don't be the parent who, we all fight, right? We all fight with our kids, but don't be the parent that rolls their eyes or walks away. Don't have your last interaction with your child be an angry one. It's, people say it's such a cliche thing to say, but, don't go to bed angry with your spouse. Well, I know our parents drive us crazy, and I know we drive our kids crazy, but don't leave your children without making sure that they know you love them, and you love them in that moment, especially when it's the hardest thing to love them. I have so much regret. I have a ton of guilt. People tell me all the time, I couldn't have changed it. CJ had a plan. He had acquired a gun, and I know all that, but your mom heart and your mom brain are very different. And all I see are the things I missed. All I see are the should have, could have, would have things that I didn't do. And it's been a struggle. I'll be very honest with you. I need this. I need to do something, because if not, the pit, the darkness, it's there, and it's constantly suggesting that I might be better off or my family, even though I know what this loss is, it's something like maybe they'd be better off without sad mom. Maybe Connor would feel stronger and less burdened by a mom who's sad all the time. So Scattering CJ turned out to be the biggest gift I had no idea I needed. I didn't realize I was so lonely, even though I'm I mean, here's a community of, we know about what it is to have lost a child, and yet I still felt so alone. So scattering CJ, just the actual journey, and now the documentary, and all these opportunities to talk about my son and his amazing smile, and to make sure that people remember him and that his legacy is far more than that last moment. All of these are opportunities for me to keep going. And every day that I get up, even though my first thought is devastating, which I'm sure some of you share that, you know, you instantly wake up and think, oh, a new day. And then it just hits me. You know, I'm a mom of one now, and that's not how I expected things to be. But I also know that I have these opportunities, that I have this journey, that I have something. And there's times when this is what's gotten me through. I've met virtually in this last year more people with bigger hearts than I think I have ever witnessed. I still kind of jokingly say, I don't know if I randomly would have come across a page on Facebook and said, oh, I'm going to reach out to help this grieving mom, and yeah, I'll take someone's ashes. I mean, it's really, you know, the Black humor part of me, it's really not a pleasant thing that I started. And we've had interesting receptions. I've also had some really ugly parts of people that have come out, people that have said I am to blame absolutely for CJ's death, that it's embarrassing that I'm sending my son across the world. And I get that. I get that people, you know, not everybody thinks of, you know, not a lot of people think you could let go of their child's ashes, but I feel to this day like it's the right thing to do. CJ just loved attention. He loved, like it's another weird thing to say, but he would love all of this. And if he was here to love it, I wouldn't be here talking to you. But, you know, I just have to think he loved to jump out of airplanes in the Air Force. He loved adrenaline. He loved roller coasters. So to know that he was rocketed into outer space, you know, that's, as opposed to sitting in an urn, which I still have, and we will always keep some of CJ's ashes. I never intended to, you know, people said that like, you know, so casually, like I might just be getting rid of my son completely. And that was never the case. But I can't help but think that he is happy to be blanketing the planet, and that I know people have said to me, being involved in this has given them incentive to continue or have changed their mindset. And you know what, if people walk away from this film feeling hopeful or kinder, that's amazing. That's such a, you know, that's the best thing. I always tell people, I don't know what I hope you feel when you watch the film, because it feels really strange to say, oh, I hope you like it, because really, I don't know if you should like it. But if you walk away, one, thinking of my son, and, you know, I think he's really handsome. He actually thought that too. The joke is CJ never met a mirror he didn't like. He definitely had no ego issues. But if you think of him, and because of him you think maybe I'll be nicer or more tolerant or more aware, you know, isn't that what we want? We want our kids to be better than us. And because he's not here to do that, I'm going to be a better person because of CJ. And I talk a lot, I know. I'm sorry. It's hard not to talk about my son. It's been
You are perfect. And I just want to tell you some of the things that people are saying in the chat box. First of all, Carla saying, Hallie, you have taken your pain and turned it into a greater purpose, bringing awareness and sharing your strength. Much love and compassion. We've had what a gift you gave, not only in honoring your CJ, but to all who are a part of this. So that's from Iris. Benita is saying, oh my goodness, your story, scattering of CJ's ashes, is so heartwarming and beautiful, inspiring. Michelle is saying, I believe that we are all connected. So many people have felt the loss of someone. CJ orchestrated all of this through you, which I believe as well. Joan is saying that your story is amazing. Teresa's agreeing. Kimberly saying, amazing story that has touched so many. Lindsay is saying, you see, I wasn't ever angry with my son. No eye rolling. I couldn't have saved him from himself. So she's explaining that in spite of the fact that sometimes these things happen with suicide, when there is something that might set it off, sometimes we're just completely caught unaware. We'll come back to that. Teresa, CJ is so proud of you. I think all of our priorities change with loss. Maria, you definitely did the right thing, and he would be so proud of you every breath you take through the pain. Iris is saying he does love all of this. HBH helps me believe that. Kimberly saying, never let anyone take your mission of love and turn it into something ugly. You are creating conversations that so often people would shy away from, which is true. Nancy is saying, what a gift. You are bravely paying it forward. I hope that I can be as impactful following my own son's passing from an overdose. This has been reinforcement for what I'm trying to do to honor his memory. Thank you. Claudia is saying, and she's up in Canada, I have seen the documentary. I admire you for so much strength you had to send your boy's ashes across the world, around the world. He and you touched the world in so many ways, and you inspired her to do the same thing with her Emma, who passed of osteosarcoma. Bravery beads one day. She really loved to travel the world beside her passion for gymnastics. I admire your honesty. And then Babette is saying, CJ must be so grateful and proud of you. Just wondering if you've had a reading with a medium. Let's come back to that. I have a question from Galen that I think is really an interesting one. And she's asking, has the interest increased, especially in 2020, or have you seen a difference in any way in terms of the outpouring of sympathy and also just the connection that you're feeling because of this movie?
So we definitely have had kind of an uptick in interest, and I think that's directly related to the film is now, out there. For years, I shared right back in the beginning that this was something that was being done, and I don't think anyone, including ourselves, imagined that it would take 5 years. I had no idea what was involved in a documentary, but once it started coming across the film festival circuit, we obviously just offered it for free for quite a while in honor of International Survivor of Suicide Day. People have started reaching out more, and that's a wonderful, outcome of all of this. It's one thing to talk about a journey that's happening or a film that's being made. It's another thing to say, this is it. Lots of people questioned whether they would want to see it. I think a lot of people thought the focus would be graphically on suicide and not be the hopeful piece of work that I am so proud to say that's what I think it is. I had no idea when it started what it would look like. I really didn't. I mean, I always kind of joke and say, we're not the Kardashians. I'm not used to having cameras in your face. It is not a comfortable thing. It's not normal. And you're talking about the most raw and vulnerable part of our lives. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. And when the film crew flew down here to Florida to show my husband and I the first cut of it, I feel like I'm, now into the lingo, which is kind of funny, but, and I just remember honestly, very truthful, raw tears, because they took something that could have been so unpleasant, and they made you, you feel sad, and yes, it's tragic, but you walk away feeling hopeful. And people that are now reaching out to us in 2020, especially with being so isolated, and COVID is, mental illness right now is a scary thing for people that are already struggling. You can't be with the people you need, your supports are taken away, you're made to stay in your home. So the struggle is even maybe more so this year for some people. And those people have started reaching out, which is, you know, I mean, I love that your mission statement says that this is not to take place of a professional, you know, or somebody who actually knows what they're doing. I don't know anything. I know I can only speak from my experience. I hope, and I'm the first to say it, I screwed up, and that's what I legitimately believe. Lots of people have said otherwise, but that's what I feel, and I can't be anything but honest. But I can't fix anyone else. I can just, when somebody emails me or calls me and says, will you listen? I can listen. I can say, I might not understand exactly what you're going through, but I care. I care that you're feeling these things, and I care about your struggles. And that, you know, that's something. And so the interest in the film has definitely peaked, but that's because it's actually out there now. And even, I mean, the timing of this is fortuitous. It's available to be rented as of today, which is such a wonderful thing, because if you missed, I hated that people missed the free window, but lots of people did see it that way. So that's a gift too. So definitely more of an interest. It'll be interesting to see if there's a lull again after the film's been out for a while, but Spark Media and Andrea, the producer, are so determined to make this seen. Their goal is to have it in universities and with the military and schools and community groups and groups like this that, you know, should see it. And if people are talking, that's the mission. That's our mission statement, to spark conversations. And it's so apropos that the film company's called Spark Media, because they are sparking conversations.
Well, I just want to tell you that nobody here believes that you messed up. And Claudia is saying you took your mission on Earth to the next level, which I believe as well. Michelle is asking if you have CJ's ashes in your necklace. If so, where did you get it?
So I have, which again, something you would never ever think about, because who talks to their kids about at 20 death? We made the decision to cremate CJ, and I felt very strongly that I needed him with me more than just in an urn. So I started seeking out, which there's a lot of jewelry out there. It's called cremains, so cremain jewelry. And I have all kinds of pieces that have CJ's ashes in them, but you can't tell. They're inside like a little starfish or a heart. And unless you directly asked me or I told you, you wouldn't know. And then I found this, which is actually, it wasn't intended for ash at all. I think the company's called Origami Owl. They put charms. You can buy charms to put inside the locket. And I saw it and I wondered if it could contain ashes. So one of the reps reached out to me and said, I don't think so, but I think if you put his ashes in there and then super glued it, it would be fine. And that's what I did. And honestly, I get such a mixed reception for this necklace. People either love it and are very touched by it, or they are, quite frankly, horrified that, one, I mean, they are now seeing someone's ashes. And I think that's the other part. Lots of people have never seen ashes, and that's okay. But I've long since stopped trying to get people to understand what they shouldn't be expected to understand if they haven't walked in my shoes. And really, isn't that a good thing? I don't want anyone to be me. So I no longer take personally when I get the side kind of, somebody will say to me, oh, is that beach sand? And I'm honest, no, that's my son. He passed away. These are his ashes. And then you get this side glance, and that hurt for a lot of years. Now it's, you know, I don't say this, but in my head, I'm thinking, if you don't like it, don't look at it.
Plus, we never want them to understand. Obviously, it's not something that we ever want them to have to go through, but we completely understand. All of us here do. So I was going to ask you if you could maybe talk about some of the most amazing places and people who have distributed CJ's ashes around the world for people who may not have seen the movie.
I would love to. And I was speaking to you earlier. It's a real wonderful problem to have that I can't remember all 1,200 locations he has been, which is why I've documented everything. But obviously space being one of the most fantastic. He's been swimming off the Great Barrier Reef. He's on the Eiffel Tower. He's pretty much in every major landmark, the Grand Canyon. He's at the Hollywood sign. He's he's been scattered off of the Empire State Building. I mean, just initially people were offering locations for us, I think, thinking they had to almost impress us with the wowness of it. And I really have steadfastly said from day one, no scattering has been more or less amazing. One of the ones I talk about all the time is a woman reached out to me and said, this was after maybe a year in, and I had been on the Facebook page, on the Scattering CJ Facebook page, I share whenever somebody sends me a video or a location. And she wrote to me and she said, you're probably not going to pick me because I have nothing to offer you. I don't have the Empire State Building at my fingertips. I can't take them swimming with dolphins. What I can offer you is that you have talked about CJ loved kids, and he did. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of this. And she said, I run a daycare out of my home in the middle of the United States. I have a fenced in backyard. I have kids that are playing and laughing and running. And she said, so what I can offer you is that CJ will always have laughter. And I'm going to cry now. I mean, how can you not? I wrote back to her and I said, you don't need Kilimanjaro. You don't need, that's amazing. And I couldn't mail her ashes fast enough. Excuse me, once I start coughing, I talk too much. So I'm trying to think of, I've met some amazing people. Obviously, there's several of them in the film. Kelly Vela, who is from Australia, she and her family took CJ's ashes to Fiji, and she is featured pretty predominantly in the film, and she should be, because I've never, until the world premiere of the film, I had never met her in person. I never thought I would. She's in Australia, and her family, all generations, from her parents down to her children, all took part. They took a little bit of CJ's ashes, and they all did this as a big moment in their vacation. And it was amazing. And they flew her in as a surprise for me at the world premiere, and I don't think I've ever cried that much. She's just such a profoundly kind person. And she's family. And I feel that way so strongly with everyone I meet. And that's amazing. I mean, my son is gone, yet he's connecting me to people that I would not otherwise have met. And although I'd still not have met them, because if he could be here, but in his absence, I'm gaining friends everywhere, kind friends with hearts that are, the Grinch 10 times too big. It's been amazing.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful. And I just wanted to tell you that, first of all, he's not gone. We don't believe that at all. We believe that he's still right here with you. And I've had 2 requests now for asking if you've been able to speak to a medium since he passed and maybe know what he thinks about all of this. Has he been able to tell you himself?
So this is one of the reasons why when I was reading your group, which is so amazing, I am very envious and very jealous of people who are open to that. CJ died, and I turned into, unfortunately, an incredibly concrete, pessimistic, not open, I tell people now I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, I'm just very closed-minded. And I think that I have a little bit of hope that I won't always be this way. And so I'm very envious of people who have a willingness to explore that. Having said that, I have never gone to a formal medium or had a reading, because I would be a hypocrite if I said I would believe what they would say. Having said that, a very close friend of mine who is very, very intuitive and very much believes in there's more and there's after, and they talk to us. She convinced me to go to a group meeting, or group reading, and said, you don't have to say anything. I'm going to buy your ticket. You just come. And if you hate it, when we leave, you can tell me, I told you I'd hate it. So I went, and I promised I would go with as open a mind as I could, which wasn't saying much because I was definitely not expecting anything. And so the punchline is I didn't walk away with anything. But what it did, unfortunately, is that event reiterated why I have such hesitation. Again, I'm going to cough. I'm so sorry.
Fine. Don't worry. Goodness.
I know. So that group, and there was probably 50 people. And I can't remember the man's name, but he walked around the room and he would sort of get near a group of people and he would say something about, I'm getting a feeling that somebody with, their, this is so frustrating. This happens every time.
Drink. Don't keep coughing, you poor thing. This must be so hard.
It's just, so he would say, I'm getting something from a woman, maybe in her 30s, maybe 40s. And her name started with, I think, like a K. Well, what I got, and again, I'm not judging anyone, but anyone in that room seemed to me to be able to make that fit their situation if it even remotely did. So all of a sudden, all kinds of people were saying, oh, that's probably my, sister-in-law who died. She was not 30 or 40. She was 67, but her last name had a K in it. And it was just such a,
I understand completely. And I think that it depends on the medium, definitely. And it's a lot more personal to have one in person. But Mina's asking, and I think that this is a better question. Have you gotten any signs from CJ? Do you feel like you're getting anything from him about what's happening?
I know what I should be saying. No, I haven't. And so for those of you, I'm going to answer this in a roundabout way. For those of you that have seen the film, you saw that my dad was featured in there quite a bit, CJ's grandfather. And he has since passed away, which makes the film even, more special to me. But my father is one of the people who very early on said to me, you can't see him. You're not open. You won't ever because you're not open to it. Like you are preventing him from coming to see you or give you signs or whatnot. And it actually kind of, if I'm being honest, pissed me off because I thought, I'm not trying to be anyway. I know what I know, and I am not seeing anything. I remember, honestly, year 2, one night, John, my husband, was working, and I sat in the middle of the room and said, okay, CJ, this is it. I'm a realist. I'm concrete. I'm tired of being told that I'm closed-minded. So, okay, here's your chance. Something. I will take anything from the dime on the floor, the cardinal, maybe I was probably insane. I probably would have been like, somebody would have been worried if they were sitting there with me, but and of course nothing happened. So over the years, have I seen cardinals? Yes. Have I seen dimes on the floor? Yes. Do I think they're anything more than dimes or cardinals? No. And am I really frustrated that I can't be open to that? Yes. It's also the reason why I'm so sad that I'm not religious, because I have met so many grieving parents who believe with every fiber of their being that they're going to see their child again. Like they know blind faith is such an amazing thing, and I don't have any of it. And I know it makes my struggle harder. I know it makes my grief, less I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but it's
But
just
look at all that you've created in spite of that, and it doesn't matter. And you know, it's not everybody's journey to be needing this. You have something else right now that's totally amazing. But if someday you are open to that, we have a list of incredible providers, and all of them are they've been certified, and they're just so compassionate and so wonderful. And someday maybe you'd like to come on to one of the gallery readings. On Thursday night, we have a psychic medium from the UK, and she's fabulous. So possibly if you'd like to just try it and see, it would be kind of fun to just see. And we'd love to have you there. But we are completely non-dogmatic. We don't believe that it's necessary to believe in any sort of way. It's just that it's something that's helped us a lot along the way. And I know that not everyone has experienced signs from their kids, especially in the very beginning when it's hard to do so. But anyway, it's funny because there are a lot of people who are asking this, and I think that the reason that they're asking this is because you look so together and so beautiful, and this film has had so much impact on so many people, and it kind of stands to reason that you are working in tandem with CJ, that you guys are working together to change the world. But at the same time, it's amazing that you have done all of this and don't necessarily feel that same connection that a lot of us do. And it's okay. And it's not something that you should feel worried or upset about. But the one thing that I do want you to know is that you could not have changed a thing about what happened. And I know that lots and lots of people have told you that. But he is happy, healthy, and whole, and he's friends with all of our kids. And that's what I truly believe. I know that all of them are having a blast. They're all watching tonight. They're all thinking, oh my gosh, this is so much fun to see. And probably they're all going to watch the film together and see exactly where all of these things happened, although they probably know it already. So anyway, Irene has put in the chat box, Pauline is doing gallery readings this Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to be on there, you can be on there. If you don't, that's completely fine. Anna Molina is asking the name of the film again, please. So it's Scattering CJ, and it's available on Vimeo. It's a beautiful movie. And let's see, I'm just making sure that we didn't miss anything. I would love for you to maybe have some concluding words for us if you'd like to. We have about 5 more minutes if you'd like to say something more about the movie or about CJ.
Sure, I talk. First of all, thank you for those that have seen it, and for those that haven't, I encourage you to do so, not because I think you're going to walk away, profoundly impacted, but I think it's a really good tool to use if you are looking to have conversations with your kids or, support groups. It's never a bad opportunity to have something that just encourages you to have an open conversation. And lots of us don't talk to our kids about things like this because it's scary. You think if you bring up, I've talked to parents who have said, if I talk about suicide, it will somehow plant the seed in their head. There's no statistics for that. Talking to your kids and talking to people just makes the opportunity to be impactful something that wouldn't have been there. So see the film, encourage others to see the film. Our Spark Media wants it to go out to groups. If you have school groups or universities, there is the Scattering CJ Film page, which is www.scatteringcjfilm.com. They have options on there for you to bring the film into a community, to have a community screening. Join the page, Scattering CJ. Talk to me, talk to people on there. There's nothing that makes me happier than to see somebody who pops in and says, I've seen, I've watched. I mean, Facebook doesn't make going back into years past very easy to do, but take time, scroll back and read, see what people are sharing. Look at the videos, look at the kindness. I mean, if you're ever having a bad day, go to the Scattering CJ Facebook page. You will feel better. You will feel like, you know, especially with this, like I said, this COVID where we're all isolated, take the time when you're bored. I always encourage you, use the time. If you have extra time, look at it. Think of my son, think of all of our beautiful children that are gone, and be kinder in their honor and in their memory. And, you know, something good has to come from this. And Scattering CJ is something that I will continue to do. I've already given a kidney. This is now my journey. They won't let me donate anything else. So this is where I focus. I will be an advocate until I'm no longer here. And if I didn't do that, I don't know that I'd still be here. So I'm honored to be a part of this group. I'm so thankful that you took time out of your night. Sorry about the connectivity issues and my coughing. But I guess the good thing is I'm honest. This is me. I will never lie. I will never say I'm feeling something I'm not. And that's all I ask, is that people be honest and open, and it's pretty raw. It's pretty sucky at times, but we're getting through it one day at a time. And if you told me I'd still be here 10 years later, I wouldn't have believed you. It's just, remember, it's okay not to be okay, and to let people know that, and it's okay to ask for help. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I just want to maybe sum this up. I think that this is beautiful, what Patrice wrote. She said, the beauty of the spirit world is that your son could be helping and guiding this film and experience and enjoying every minute of it. And it's irrelevant whether you feel that or believe that, because the purpose of fulfilling a destiny the purpose is fulfilling a destiny that includes your son. And your journey does, which is just beautiful. So then other people are also saying, we love you. Thank you for sharing your story. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing, and please keep healing yourself and others. Thank you, Hallie. It's been so wonderful what you've done. Thank you for sharing your story. Your connectivity issues could actually be CJ. Teresa is saying, we love you. Suzanne is saying, thank you so much for sharing your story. Carla is saying, thank you so much for sharing such raw emotions. Sending hugs filled with comfort and strength your way, Hallie. And Mina is saying, yes, this is everyone's journey. Thank you for sharing it with us. Anna is saying, thank you for your closing words, very encouraging. And Dixie saying, thank you for sharing your story. So this has been really, really helpful and healing to all of us. And if you'd like to join us, you're welcome to, but don't feel like you have to.
I've learned that you have to do what's right for you, but I'm very open to the idea. So I definitely will be stalking the page and seeing what groups I can join in. I appreciate that you allow me.
Well, that sounds wonderful. So what we always do at the end of the meeting is that Irene allows everybody to unmute and people say goodbye and thank you. So if you'd like to do that, go ahead, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Hallie.
you.
Have a good night. So much.
Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.